So hey guys, welcome to Dev Domain. In today's video we are going to learn about the interfaces. So let's start. An interface in Java is a blueprint of a class that contains only a abstract methods. So the interface is just like a class which contains only the abstract methods. It defines what a class must do but not how it should do it. Interface methods are by default public and abstract, and the interface variables are by default public plus static plus final. To achieve the interface, Java provides a keyword that called as the implements. So as we have to implement the methods in the concrete class, so for that we not use the extends keyword here, we use implements keyword. Okay, so let's see a real life example. Imagine you are creating a remote control for different TVs. So all the remotes should have the power button or the volume controls. We can control the volume of the TV, then the channel controls. Okay, so we need these three functionalities in the TV remote. Okay, so the interface would specify the requirement, but the TV brands like Sony, then Samsung, etc. can implement them differently. So this is the example of the interface. Why we use interfaces? First point is achieve abstraction. So in the interface, we achieve the complete abstraction because all the methods present in the interface are abstract methods. So next point is supports multiple inheritance. Java does not support multiple inheritance, okay, but through interfaces we can achieve the multiple inheritance. Okay, so next is loose coupling. So code depends on interfaces rather than the concrete implementation. So the code depends on the interface rather than we create a concrete implementation. So next is API design. So how the classes should be interact with each other. So for that we will use the interface. So let's start with our practical session. So we will create a interface. So for that we will click on src, then new, then as you can see here interface, then I will give the package name as com.interface and the name as remote control. So as you can see we have created an interface. Now we will create a methods. We will create void, the return type will be void, and the method name will be power. So the method name will be power on off. Okay, so I created a method, the abstract method. Okay, so this method is by default public and abstract. Okay, so let's create another method. So return type will be void, the name will be volume up. Okay, so let's create another method, void volume down. Method that we will create is channel up, and then channel down. Okay. Now we have to implement this all methods in a concrete class. Okay. So for that we have to create another class. So we'll right click on package, then new, then class. So let's say the name as Sony TV. I've created a class as Sony TV. Now we have to inherit. So for that we have to write implements the class name, that is remote control. Okay. And we have to implement all the methods present in the interface. Okay. So I will click on unimplemented methods. Okay. So we have implemented all the methods. Okay. In all the methods we will give some statements. So let's say, so in this we will, let's say Sony power button pressed. Okay. And in power up we will print as Sony volume increased. In next method we will print as Sony volume decreased. Now here we will print Sony channel changed up, and here we will print Sony channel changed down. Okay, so we have given some statements to each and every method. Now let's say we will create another concrete class. So for that we will click on package, then new. So let's say we will create a class as Samsung TV. Okay, and we have to implement the interface. So for that we will write implements and the interface name, that is remote control. Okay, perfect. Now we will implement all the methods. So I have implement all the methods. Now in this we'll simply give some statement to each and every method. So now in this we'll simply print Samsung power button is pressed. Here we will print Samsung volume increased, and here we will print Samsung volume decreased. Now here we will print Samsung next channel. Okay. And here we will print in next method Samsung previous channel. Okay, so we have created three classes. Okay. So first we have created an interface. Okay, and we have created some methods in that. All the methods are abstract. Okay, in the interface. So and we have to implement the methods in the concrete classes. So we have implement all the methods in the concrete classes. Okay, in Samsung TV and the Sony TV, in both the classes we have implement the methods. Now let's call the methods. So for that we will create a method. We'll click on class and then name as test. Now we will create a method, the main method. we have to create the object of the concrete classes. So let's create an object. So Sony TV S1 is equal to new Sony TV. Okay, and let's say we will call the methods. Okay, S1 dot power on off. Okay, so let's run the code. So as you can see, the method has been called. Now let's call some another methods. So let's say S1 dot volume up and S1 dot volume down. So let's run the code. So as you can see, the output that we have get is this. Okay, all the methods has been called from the concrete classes. Now let's create an another object for the concrete class for the Samsung TV. Samsung TV S2 is equal to new Samsung TV. Okay, now let's call its method. So I will comment it. We'll call S2 dot power off on. Okay, now let's run the code. So as you can see, the method that we have called from the Samsung TV concrete class. Okay, now let's call some another methods. So let's say S2 dot volume down. Okay, and S2 dot channel down. Okay, now let's run the code and see output. So as you can see, the output that we have get from the concrete class. This is all about the interfaces. So thank you for watching this video.